movemos hacia el Báltico. Ieva Lasmane de Riga Tourism Development Bureau y Vairis Strazds de DDB Latvia. Por su parte, Ieva Lasmane, encargada de Marketing Account Executive en Riga Tourism, como decía. 15 años dedicada a las relaciones públicas y al marketing, 10 de ellos como gerente de marketing de Riga Tourism Development Bureau, dedicada a la estrategia promocional de la ciudad, que incluye campañas publicitarias, comunicación digital diaria, edición de sitios web y relaciones B2B. Por su parte, Vairis, desde 1996 dedicado al mundo de la publicidad en Letonia y 10 años más tarde, en el 2006, se convirtió en director creativo de una de las agencias más grandes de Letonia, como decía anteriormente, DDB Letonia, DDB Letonia, centrándose principalmente en grandes marcas locales. Como director creativo, pues ha formado parte de la campaña Insider's Guide to Riga y en el año 2018, es decir, el año pasado, DDB Latvia ha sido reconocida la mejor agencia de publicidad y comunicación en el Báltico. Les vamos a dar la bienvenida esta mañana para que nos cuenten el caso del turismo de Riga. Bienvenidos, adelante.
Hello.
Hello.
I guess they explained quite a lot about us. Today we will tell you about, I think, the most successful advertising campaign for Riga as a destination. I will shortly talk about a little bit about our challenges as a destination, and then Vairis will cover the creative side of this campaign.
And thank you for letting us know that we've been right on trend. We know that trends are there, and without knowing that we see that our campaign also reflects something that is going on globally.
We're starting with the video, right? Yeah.
Promoting cities is not rocket science, right? Paris is for lovers, Berlin is for ravers, Rome is for dreamers. Compared to these capitals, Riga's clichés are pocket-sized, but that gives us the freedom to tell our small stories in a big way. So, we distilled the essence of our city into 8 tongue-in-cheek characters and made a short film about each of them, like the sinning priest.
Laipni lūdzu paradīzē.
The priest takes a different way to work every day. Flowing water clears his thoughts. The priest also loves flowing wine. His weekend sermons in Riga wine bars are legendary.
The high-flying birdwatcher.
The first thing Birdwatcher does in the morning is making sure all the roosters of Riga are in place. But if you want to see the swans, it's time to visit Riga Opera.
The horse-riding women's blogger.
Zirgs, īsākais ceļš pie sievietes.
Be it sunshine or snowstorm, the blogger rides the streets of Riga and searches for what's best for women. Top 10 fashion hunting spots, boutiques and petite boutique.
The Wagner-loving taxi driver.
5 eiro.
The taxi driver knows the most beautiful spots in Riga. Want architecture? Here's a giraffe house.
When you watch the video on Live Riga site, it comes complete with a map of all the places featured. And if you're having a hard time picking the best fitting character, an online quiz will help you make up your mind. So, how did the insiders perform? Of course, they got plenty of reactions and views. Our insiders proved controversial, generating a lot of love and hate, because it's the internet after all. However, counting impressions is one thing, but actually making one is another. The biggest increase in all of Europe in stays at tourist accommodation establishments last year was in Latvia. And thanks to our insiders, Latvia outperformed all the big names in Europe.
You'll get a chance to see a bit more of those videos, but first I will use this chance to talk a little bit about tourism in Riga, just to illustrate what we're working with and what was the challenge and how we ended up with the insiders. So as a destination, we get about 3.3 million visitors per year. These are data for 2017. A bit more than half of them are overnight stays, and of course our biggest markets are our neighboring countries, Scandinavia and Germany, which is a huge market for us. What is the people we target? Mostly we work to attract so-called city breakers to Riga, people who would come for a longer weekend, 2 nights, 3 days, maybe sometimes 3 nights. The countries are, as you can see, the neighbors, also Netherlands and Denmark. We choose the countries based on the connectivity. These are countries we have direct flights to, preferably the ones that have double daily flights or at least a daily flight. So the problem with, or let's say not a problem, maybe a challenge for us is that the audience we attract and the product that we sell is, I'd say, not so unique. The product that we have for City Break is architecture, cuisine, culture, nightlife, everything that basically you could also get in our neighboring countries, in capitals like Vilnius, Tallinn, also in Scandinavian cities. So for us, the challenge is how to sell this maybe not so unique product in a more appealing way to our audience. The brief for the agency was actually quite simple from our side. It was basically try something different for us. Make us look more creative, more appealing. Also, the brief included, I think, one sentence that every creative agency loves, which is make it funny. Make it so that it's funny. Make me laugh. So, yeah, so we wanted to stand out, and we also wanted to appeal to a bit younger demographic. We wanted to attract people who are in their early 20s, but at the same time not losing the main audience that we have, which is people over 35. So I think the brief was quite complicated, but DDB managed to come up with a wonderful solution, and Vairis will talk about this now.
It's obvious that giving that freedom is like a dream for agency. Who would not love to work on such kind of a brief? But at the same time, it also includes a lot of things we still need to think from business side. If we are going to attract people from other countries to Riga, what is the real offer? What's going to be from them like a real experience? So we had to think not just like creatively, but also how it's going to reflect something that people who are just searching YouTube or other channels looking for some inspiration, how they're going to react, what would be their way to decision. Yes, I'm going to Riga, I love it. So the insight was that, of course, for city breakers, eating, drinking, shopping may be the same everywhere, but as people who live in Riga, we know that the character that defines the city is still special, something unique. And you can't like show it through postcards or beautifully shot product videos, but there is something that each resident feels and knows, and it might be different for each of us. But that's why the insiders as a concept came in, because we all had in our creative team stories how it was when sometime, maybe years ago, somebody went to city, he or she didn't expect something beautiful to happen at all, because the city might be dull, or the season was wrong, or the other factors. And then if you had somebody there who would show you around and take you to some special place, some interesting bar or unknown place for tourists, then the magic happens. And so the insiders became the whole theme for this campaign. And we had this challenge or a dilemma. would it be better if the insiders were like for real, authentic in a documentary way, or should we invent them? And of course, if we are going for authenticity and honesty, the obvious answer would be, why don't you use like real people? And at the same time, it was like the other direction we considered was how much more creative freedom we get if we can combine some real people we know and with some imaginary people we can like invent if we are thinking about those characters as something larger than just persons we know. So we started with a list with the possible characters that might be so interesting to see how they feel, how they see the city, that you wouldn't care that you don't know this person, that some invented some fictional character like former, I don't know, president of Latvia or a priest you wouldn't like meet in real life would be so much more interesting than something real that you would love to see this film or this video. And it was obvious from the first meeting with the client that we wanted to be not just film to see, but also some plan to act on, so that for each fictional character would be some real places to go, some real path to follow, so that the whole experience becomes something practical, not just inspirational. So the process basically was distillation of things we know about Riga, things we feel about Riga, and mixing them together to make some fun, make some contrasting things, and find a way how to show even those boring or same as everywhere locations and offerings as something special and more interesting. For example, for priest, we had this idea that if he would walk to his place from home every day, that would be already like a spine for whole story, because Riga is a walking city, and unlike other destinations, you could easily find a place where to stay and see everything that's beautiful about Riga around in walking distance. So that was one thing, and for more contrast and for some controversy, we also invented the priest as a person who would visit wine bars and maybe hold some sermons there. For inspiration, we also took something from the world of pop culture. We knew that if some potential city breaker would see this video and find some references to things from pop culture that everyone around the world knows, that he would probably feel more comfortable with going to city she doesn't know, that because people there also love the same films, also have the same cultural references. And also to make it more fun, we didn't want to make it like a comedy, but still there is this tongue-in-cheek feel about the whole thing, and to finish this or make this those series kind of common tone of voice, we had this British actor, and we give him his brief. Brief was like speak like a propaganda war movie voiceover actor, and that also added some layer of fun and some layer of inspiration for both for creative team and for viewers. And in collaboration with the film director Vairis Strazds, who is one of our Latvian promising young talents, his idea was that the style of these films should be mockumentary, so that we feel this is real, and at the same time, it somehow falls around and plays with you as a viewer. And we follow all our protagonists in the same way. The camera always followed those characters, and they interacted with the camera a little bit, so that we knew that they are aware of camera, and we are going to feel their feelings, and we are going to see the city the way how they see it, so that we are like on a journey with them together. So the priest, as I said, was one of those most controversial characters. So let's see the film and the reactions that we get afterwards.
This is his uniform. This is his cross. This his favorite book. This is him, the priest from Riga.
Laipni lūdzu paradīzē.
The priest takes a different way to work every day. Through the market, through the park, through the backyards, alleys, down the hill, up the hill. Why?
Jo tā kunga ceļi ir neizdibināmi.
He likes to choose his way from his bell tower, or from his colleague's bell tower, or really, any tower. The priest often goes to the waterfront. Flowing water clears his thoughts. Doesn't the traffic bother you?
Nē, te, ko šodien sakārto domās.
The priest also loves flowing wine. Of course, unless it ruins his flowing speech. His weekend sermons in Riga wine bars are legendary. People tell him even more than they would in confession. Only someone with his thoughts cleared is capable of this. Only someone with his thoughts cleared is capable of this. Come to Riga and clear your thoughts.
And of course, we were a bit worried how this thing would be perceived. Maybe someone could get offended, but it seems that wasn't the case. Even the Christian portal for Latvian Lutheran Church was quite positive and said that obviously the authors were somehow influenced by Paul Sorrentino's Young Pope, and yeah, they were true, that we wanted to show Riga as more fun, and even our priests are not old and stiff as someone might think. And as I said, that for priests' story as well as for all other characters, you could go to Live Riga website and see all his favorite spots and read about them and see this route in real world situation, including pictures, descriptions. You could read more and explore more along the campaign. The other interesting character from this first wave was a blogger. His idea or his mission was to show shopping places and something about Riga's more, I don't know, rational side, so to say. And to not make it boring, he should be the most colorful and biggest of all characters. And of course, this was a bit over the top in all his appearances and ways how he talked and how he acted. And some people were offended by it, but not as not to ruin the whole story and not to ruin this campaign.
This is his keyboard. These are his fingers. This is his horse. And this is him, the most popular women's blogger in Latvia on his horse.
Zirgs, īsākais ceļš pie sievietes.
Be it sunshine or snowstorm, the blogger rides the streets of Riga and searches for what's best for women. Top 10 places with the most gorgeous latte art. Top 10 fashion hunting spots, boutiques and petite boutique. Top 10 places to feel like you are born again. Don't you get tired? The blogger never goes to sleep. He just rides the streets of Riga and keeps an eye on women in need. Come to Riga to extend your style.
And also on practical side, we wanted to make it budget-wise as rational as we could. So we filmed the first 5 series in 1 week, and it was winter, and we were a bit afraid of that. But as we saw later, that if the character is strong enough and if the story is strong enough, then the fact that you show city in snow or not so green and shiny, it doesn't hurt at all. And after those first 5 characters, there was time for 3 more, and that was summer and more sun and more green around. But basically the formula or the approach was the same. Each character was presented in a short introduction, and then we show another aspects of Riga that might be interesting for people who would love to go to parks or see the city with kids, etc. And finally, there was a moment when some real characters came around. People from sports world. One is our tennis talent, Alyona Ostapenko, and it was like a deciding moment. The whole series, whole campaign was built on fictional characters, and then we have like opportunity to change direction, or maybe there's a way to stay in the same field, that this is fictional, but at the same time this part documentary, so that authenticity stays. And both films with the sport characters worked as well pretty good. And the key for this is the same, that doesn't matter if you show fictional character or real one. What matters is that it feels authentic. And with our boxing champion Vairis Strazds, the story was authentic because he's a policeman and he's worked his whole life as a police officer, and that's what made it interesting.
Our story begins with a tantalizing glimpse of something very special. The most peaceful policeman in the world. His name is Vairis Strazds, and he patrols in Riga. Ever since Vairis started checking on Riga's botanical garden, this useless palm tree suddenly became useful. Here is Vairis in his favorite district, the Latvian National Library. He's particularly keen on finding those who don't return their books on time. As a warning, they get a free tour of Riga in Vairis' police van. No famous Riga landmark is excluded from this lovely trip. And only in Riga, bank robbers bring their loot back to the bank. With Vairis' blessings, of course. On weekends, Vairis uses the many parks of Riga for teaching kids how to stay fit. And there's also a strange rumor that Vairis is actually a world boxing champion. Meanwhile, Vairis is busy patrolling his favorite city. Come to Riga and enjoy the peace.
So this is how far the campaign is now, and probably the results are one way to judge how it worked, and is it the same as was expected, as it planned, and what was the learnings from all this?
I think if we talk about the results, then I think the most important thing for us as a tourism board was that the series that we created together with the agency were very well received by Latvians and by Riga residents, which made a huge deal for the campaign, because people were quite willing to share this content with their followers and their friends, which is, I think, one of the biggest challenges working in destination promotion is how to make something that would appeal to your potential target market or your visitors, and also to residents, because in tourism promotion everyone always knows better and everyone has their homemade video of the destination, which is way better than this or way better than anything anyone else has ever made. So I think that was the biggest strength of the campaign, and we mostly used it as it was a social media campaign. In some countries, in some target markets, we used parts of it on TV. We used it also in some cooperation projects with online travel agencies, where the platforms allowed video promotion to be as part of campaign. We used that in Germany, I think, and also in Finland. Well, the main thing, and if we speak about numbers, then our arrivals in terms of numbers have been growing since 2017 when we started the campaign. The first part was in 2017 with the first 5 videos, and then 3 videos at the second half of the year, and then the 2 last ones Vairis was talking about, the ones with the sportsmen, those were made in 2018. But last year we also still continued with some of the first wave videos to use them, to continue using them in promotion. Of course, the biggest growth we've seen are in our target markets. Those are the ones that we were targeting with this campaign. But of course, with the social media possibilities, you can target not only specific markets, you can also target via interest groups. So basically, with one campaign, you can affect more audience than just in your stated target markets. But of course, those were the most important ones for us, and the ones that where we were comparing results to previous periods.
Yeah, and some key takeaways from creative process is that being true to yourself is maybe the most powerful tool of all, and honesty and authenticity is something it's not easy to achieve, but when you do it with enthusiasm and people who believe the idea, it works. And controversy sometimes is something we try to avoid and be polite and be nice to everybody, but a little bit of edginess still doesn't hurt. And if you find the right balance between being nice and a bit edgy, it gains some traction, and you could reach people you wouldn't otherwise. And trusting with the filmmakers, the people who actually go and have the camera on the hands, is super important. And thanks, Ieva and your team, because without your support, or maybe even this like filter that you didn't allow too much of opinions and wishes to be included, we got the result that made everyone smile and made also some pretty impressive results. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. No sé si tenemos alguna pregunta. ¿Hay alguna pregunta para esta interesante ponencia, que nos quedamos siempre con estas ideas, como decimos, ¿no? Algo inspirador, being true to yourself is a powerful tool. Y es que es una realidad. Así que, bueno, cedo la palabra. No sé si tenemos alguna pregunta.
Approximately. Around between 20 to 30,000 euros. We filmed with small crew. This is why the documentary style helped. This very small crew, just operator and director and actor, basically and technical and sound guy, but we filmed on 16mm camera because, as we find out, those are super cheap to rent, and we didn't had deadlines so near that we had time to develop and process the film.
How many days? One series?
Some series just 1 day, some series 2 days. So it was depending on
Number of locations.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I'm from Lithuania. I'm your neighbor. Yeah.
You're our target market.
Your commercial. I was typing now in Lithuanian tourism department. Riga. A really cool commercial.
Thank you.
Thank you, my neighbors.
Thank you.
So you still have a lab over there for 16mm?
Yeah. I think that there is some travel involved. But basically, we don't have lab in Riga, but you can go. I think Prague is pretty near, or Berlin. So it's the process is like well made. You basically don't worry about anything. Just put film in a box and they send you back already digitalized. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.